Howdy, howdy. I'm glad y'all are here. If you're here, I haven't logged into Facebook yet to see, but very, very glad everyone's here. And Ethan and I are getting ready to start talking here in a little bit about different things going on in the world, COVID, history. We're going to talk probably a little bit about history and what's going on with all the tearing all the monuments down and all that kind of stuff. So we do have a question of the day, though, and he'll be up here in just a minute. But we have a question of the day, and it's a generic question. But what do you think about COVID? What do you think about COVID? And you could even narrow that down if you wanted to how has COVID affected your life, or are you worried about it? Or is it something that you're not even worried about? What do you think about COVID? So I'm going to log in to Facebook so I can see what we're doing. And I should have done that earlier and just got distracted. To be honest with you, I was canning, and it was so crazy. Okay, so what you do in your canning tomatoes, I was canning salsa. And so I did 14 pints of salsa, and it's good too. It's chunky, lots of cilantro, a little bit of garlic in there. I love it. But anyway, what you do is you clean your tomatoes, you put them in the hot water, scalding water for 30, 45 seconds. Then you take them out, put them in ice water, and then you take them out of that, set them on a pan or whatever, and you pull the core out and take the skin off. Well, I did all that, and then I forgot to make it to where I didn't chop them. So they were just all big chunks of stuff. So anyway, I learned a lot. So I had to go back. The reason why I say that is I had to go back later and put them in what do they call that thing? A bullet. I think it's a ninja thing. And when I pushed the button, pooh, it went everywhere. So I've been cleaning up the kitchen for the last hour. Well, maybe not the last hour, but I've been cleaning up the kitchen a lot. And so I'm glad all that's behind me. And now I get to enjoy some salsa here shortly.
All right. So to repeat the question, just so while everyone's getting on, the question is, how has COVID-19 affected your life? Do you get sick when you just hear the word?
Right.
What happens? I know he got more into canning than he ever has before. So, how has COVID-19 affected your life? I know we asked the same question a few months ago, and now that it's drug on, let us know what's changed. Are you making bread like you were back in the end of March?
There you go.
I don't know if people are doing that as much.
Are you still going to work?
Are you still going to work? And also another question: how do you hear us? How's the audio? Can someone just let us know, is it leveled all right? Do I need to turn myself down? Do I need to do something like that? How's the audio? But why don't you put in the comments section, how has COVID-19 affected your life? That may be your job. You may be working from home still, because there's still people that are doing that. You're doing things you never would have done. You're wearing a mask now, which was funny. When we come out of March, we were ridiculing people for wearing masks, and now we're all wearing masks. Well, I say we. I don't necessarily think I was, but some people in America were saying stop buying masks, and now we're buying masks again. Right. So it's funny.
Hey, I've got a good question. What mask have you found to work best?
Oh yeah. Well, and then what do you mean by work best? Something more comfortable, something that's going to be more effective, and
yeah. Well, yeah. What's comfortable and effective is probably not in the same league.
Right.
Probably doesn't equate. So, yeah, I've found that trying to keep up with the mask, putting it in my pocket or whatever, I would put it down and forget it. And so the last few days, I got a bandana, tied it around my neck and wore it all day and just pulled it up. And that actually, I didn't lose it. When that was, I guess as they say, it's anything's better than nothing, because you're really trying to prevent expelling moisture droplets and things like that. So I think that the bandana is better than nothing, but obviously it's not an N95. So.
Right. So again, the question is, and I know Steve Emmerich just made the comment, What has COVID-19 changed about your life now? We're coming towards the end of June, a place that we really haven't really thought a whole lot about. We talked about it some, but it's still hard to imagine until you get there. So the end of June, how has COVID-19 affected your life? We want you to blow up the comments tonight like you do every night, so make sure that happens. And the audio is good, according to Elizabeth Gaines, so thank you so much for letting us know that. So let's see. Steve Emmert, yes, still working and eating most meals from home. Me too. It's been nice. I've saved a lot of money and been eating at home, spending more time with family. It's been very good. Deanna Foy, I've been working from home since March 17th. Still doing it. Wow. That's awesome. I guess that's awesome. I don't know. Going back to the office July 1st, I wonder if we will be forced back home again if numbers keep going up. That is a question, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So, Carla, we have not worked. We can't visit with family and friends here in at Victory Church and College Station. I know we miss you. So anyways, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to look into the effects recently because for a while it seemed like it leveled out. We thought we flattened the curve, and we did. I guess we did.
Yeah.
But then
we'll show you that graph.
We opened up, and Texas really has opened up, which is a great thing because businesses are coming back. But I believe, and I'm sure many of you would agree, that we must be responsible. So Angie says she's wondering the same thing. So, I've got a graph tonight. We're going to show you, look at it, and give you a disclaimer. We are not doctors. We are not lawyers. We whatever we say. This is just observation and opinion. So keep that in mind. Buddy Saxon working from home since mid-March, being with family. That's awesome. Nothing really changed here. Beverly Smith worked from home a bit, but back in the office. Scott Mears. So what do you think? You have some saying it's not as bad as government is saying. Okay. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Scott, make sure you're leaving us comments.
I think the graph, when you throw the graph up there, it's going to really blow people's minds.
Yeah. So, and we'll see. This is just a moment in time. And so who knows how it all happened. It's easy to look back. It's very, very, very hard to look forward.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's the truth.
You got to do it in caution. So anyways, that's what's going on. It's 8:04 on my clock. The question was, and if anybody wants to jump in on this before it's too late, it's never too late, by the way. But what has changed in your life because of COVID-19? Many have said that they're still working at home. Some are eating more meals at home. Some have probably gained the COVID-19 and the 19 pounds, I'm sure. Things have changed. So, Pastor, here we go. Diane Walters, after this weekend, I'll probably shut down again, other than taking short road trips. And, well, it may have to happen. Pastor, why don't you go ahead, lead us into the topic of the discussion, and let's get into it.
Okay, I have got 3, really 4, but I'll probably not get to the 4th one. The first one, obviously, is a COVID update, and we'll talk about this. But I want to talk in a different way. I want to see how we should respond to COVID. And my thought process is, as Scott Mears said, is this all just a big, is the government stretching the truth, whatever. Let's assume that the graphs we're going to see here in a minute, and let's assume the numbers are legitimate and everything is exactly the way we're being told it is. And let's assume that, mask will prevent problems and isolation or
mitigate as much as possible.
Mitigate it,
right.
right.
I think it would completely
prevent it. But so we could assume those things. Yeah. My thought is, so we're struggling. I'm as a pastor, I'm struggling. Do we have church? Do we not have church? That kind of thing. To what extent do we have church? Do we go to work? Do we go to church? Do we go to a restaurant? Do we go to the grocery store? All those things. And I think that what I've had to do over the last few hours, because I'm having to juggle some decisions, is I've had to look at it in a spiritual sense. What does God value most in our world? And how, this is such a hard topic. How do we manage the things that he values? And so I know it sounds a little bit deep, and it's not really that deep, but it is complex. In other words, I believe that God values life. His greatest creation is human life. And so we have, of course, we know that we're against murder. Of course, we can talk about, whether it's self-defense or offense, whatever. But really, I just believe that we need to be careful and recognize that whether we agree or disagree with what the government implements or what they don't implement or how everybody else acts, really valuing life is I think that would be my top priority because it's God's priority. He, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, he valued life. He didn't want, a baby to be lost, an adult or an elder. He created everybody with purpose, everybody with a plan, everybody with something to be done in their life. And I just think that we have to value that as well. It has to be a priority in our lives. So the reason why that comes up with COVID is this. I think, when we go into the grocery store, okay, if we're looking at it like this, if I wear a mask, I protect others in case I have it. That's what the mask is about. It's not to prevent me getting it, but from me spreading it. And I don't know if everybody's seen it, but recently, there was a video about how the mask dissipates or, I think dissipates our air the way it flows out. Instead of going forward, it just stops and kind of hovers and then goes away, the air that we expel. Well, I think if that is the case, if all of these things they're saying is right, and the numbers are real, and the effects of COVID-19 on certain people are real, then I think we should lean towards protecting others by wearing a mask. And that's really, would you say my topic is about COVID-19 or about mask or about life? Probably about all of them, kind of all three together. I think with COVID-19, again, if everything they're saying is legitimate, wearing a mask is better because it protects life.
And I'll say this, just earlier today, I saw I think it was a tweet or something from an evangelist, an elder evangelist that had preached in a church that I was at previously.
Yes.
I believe his name was George Guy. And he put a text out basically saying this, it could be his last text. He's about to get on a ventilator or a tube. He's in the hospital with COVID-19, and he's older. He's probably mid-70s. I'm not sure. But it kind of brings it in perspective. And
right.
So often right now with the numbers as they are, many people in the world, if they have a small friend base, they might not be affected by it. They may not know anybody that's had it or has even died from it especially, but has even had it. And so as time progresses, it's going to become more obvious. It's going to come into our faces. And so while a lot of us may not know anybody that has it, many people do, and we're seeing that. So
yeah,
but it's sad to see an elder who's just letting everyone know could be it.
I would say without getting into names, because some of them told me don't mention it, but I would say in the last week, well, let me go back a little bit. Prior to now, I knew nobody personally, a personal friend or an acquaintance of a personal friend that had COVID. But within the last week, I've probably heard of 6 or 7 that are either I know them personally, or they are direct, immediate kin to or related to someone that is in our church or a friend or a family member. So it's getting closer, and they are, and I would encourage you in just a moment to put that graph up. I watched the numbers, and I took a picture every morning. But if you take it before noon,
I'll go ahead and throw it up.
Yeah, throw it up there. If before noon you get on I think it's called Newsbreak. They'll give you the number for the previous 24 hours, and I would take a picture of that every day, not every day, but most days. And I saw it, start from 500 to 1,000, and it got up to 13, 1,400, then drop back down. And and we're just kind of coasting along, and everything's good. We went through Mother's Day, and I believe that's really where, you can see it. I believe that Mother's Day was really where we kicked it off. We kind of threw off the restrictions. It's not worth being at home all this time. Look at, it's not very many cases. And now look at the cases. You're on June the 14th, 15th, right up in there.
16th, we went over 4,000. Previously, the high was, what was this, 2,500?
Yeah.
So
go to June 1st.
June 1st, right there.
Right there.
1,100.
You see what I'm saying? There was 1,000 cases not every day, obviously, but it was consistently around 1,000 cases. And then right at about 2 weeks after Mother's Day, man, it took off. And now we're over 4,000, and you can see the average.
Yesterday was 4,760.
Yeah.
But the average, I would say it's around 4,000. Yeah, there was a few days it's obviously been 3,000, 3,200, things like that.
Yeah, that's a running average, a 7-day average. So it's hard to, but yeah, it's so we are obviously, and again, we have to assume the government is telling us the truth. I know we don't necessarily have justification to heed all this. Sometimes they tell us a lie. Like in fact, Dr. Fauci just said yesterday, we had to lie to tell people not to wear masks because the health people needed it. Well, you could see through that if you were paying attention early on. But assuming they're telling us the truth, we're getting ready to get hit hard. In fact, I heard today, trying to remember who it was that said it. I don't remember who it was that said it. I wished I thought about it to write it down. But I heard today that one of the leading physicians at Baylor in Houston said that Harris County, if things don't change quickly, Harris County will be the epicenter of COVID in North America.
Yeah. Which at the same time, we have to reason that the more tests, the more cases. So
true. It's hospitalization rate.
We know that these cases have we have a chart that says it's risen.
Right.
Let's see. And these are cases by day, so reported cases. It may not mean hospitalization necessarily.
Right.
So,
hospitalization rate is really what matters.
Right.
And this is another thing about COVID. The problem with COVID is it's not like a flu or a cold. You get over it in a few days and you're back to work in a week or two. Man, there's people that are getting COVID that aren't the same for months. And I'm telling you, many months later, they're still very much dependent upon medical equipment and medical science to keep them going. It's crazy. So I used the example earlier today with some of our leaders and at the church. It's like you're walking around, and I know I've got a weird imagination, but it's like you're walking around with a six-shot revolver, and everybody you see, you just kind of spin it and pull the trigger, The likelihood of anybody getting hurt is probably pretty low, but somebody's eventually going to get hurt, and that's kind of where we're at.
Right. And right now, if you look at the screen, I'm on the Texas map showing just by area. One thing that surprised me was El Paso.
Well, go to Potter County, up around Amarillo. Look at that one. Look, and right up the big one there, there.
2838.
1 in 43 people have got it. That's crazy. It's a small county, evidently, or I don't know. Potter County might be where Amarillo's at. I don't know.
It's right there around it, just north of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. We'll see. It's hard to look forward, but we do need to take whatever clues we get now, to be above the path at least. Just be prepared.
Well, I think anybody listening to us tonight, my advice to you is be safe. Why? It's like, okay, I grew up around a lot of people that are rebellious, and I remember when they come out with the seatbelt laws. Seatbelts save lives. You can learn a lot from a dummy. Remember those commercials? And they had the dummy in the seat, and they would show this is what happens with and without a seatbelt. And despite what science was saying, I personally knew people that would put their seatbelt behind them and click it in because that's a bunch of baloney. I don't like seatbelts. I don't care for seatbelts. Seatbelts are for whatever. And I'm thinking, why? What is the big deal if we're told that seatbelts save lives and it's obvious there's something there? Then wear your seatbelt. I don't even know what to say sometimes. I mean, they're like, I ain't wearing no seatbelt. And, you go out on the lake and they don't wear a life jacket. And I'm thinking, Lord, have mercy. And God has had mercy on them, obviously. Some of them, they're still alive. A few of them, I'm sure, haven't survived their rebellion. But if you're listening to that, man, wear a mask. It's not, like I said, get the little bandana. Something's better than nothing. And protect those you love by doing that. I just don't see it. I don't see it as a problem. I heard it, and I'll repeat it like this: we wear clothes to not offend those around us. I wear a shirt, pants, because I don't want to be
speak
offensive.
for yourself.
Yeah. Well, believe me, I'm going to keep wearing my clothes because I don't want to offend anybody. It's the same way with a mask. You're just protecting everybody else's sensibilities sometimes. Maybe you don't have it, and maybe you're not going to give it to anybody. But obviously, looking at the graphs, somebody has it, and somebody's spreading it, and it could be me.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it is, but it could be.
Now, Chris on here says, wear a seatbelt, at least one gun, and keep a mask around just in case. I like that. And
you're right.
Cameron Goodman, we're glad you're watching, man, from St. Louis. I'm excited about your wedding coming up. So we love you.
Cameron, awesome, yes.
Steve Emmert, you have some rebellious people in the church. I think Steve Emmert might be one of them. Who knows?
Come on now, don't be pointing a finger at him. He'll arrest you.
Yeah. Well, Brazos County, we're looking at. Let me go back to that. 1 in 168 people. So it's narrowing down little by little as the days go on. So something to keep in mind. It'll be hitting close to home.
Right.
Back 3 months ago, we thought, well, it'd be a lot quicker than this. But I obviously, it seems as if staying home probably flattened the curve, and opening up is opening it up. So we'll see. I'm not one to think that we should shut everything down necessarily, but I do think we need to be responsible. So
yeah, I think, and I really think that being responsible. Okay, I'm going to go back and blend these things together again. God values life, therefore I value life, not just my own, but others. And I've always seen myself as one of those people that steps in to protect others, to defend people when they're being abused or whatever else. And I like that. I mean, not being silly, but I like that perspective of myself. I don't want to be seen as somebody that is flippant about other people's lives. And I just think that wearing a mask is not hurting us. It's not. I mean, obviously, if you wore now, let me tell you this: what we did early on in this thing, we bought masks from Walmart, and there's nothing wrong with a mask. They fit back, good and all that kind of stuff. But there was a 4-pack, 2 with a little American flag up here on the cheek, and the other 2 are like full-blown American flags all the way across here, painted on.
Right.
So it was like we're trying
any
to
air
breathe.
that you could have had, it's sealed up.
It was So obviously we're not talking about those
it's effective.
dense, heavy
no corona
masks.
getting in there.
You know what I heard on the radio? It's been a couple days ago. Somebody, I don't know what, man, some people are ignorant. He goes and does a jog with an N95 mask on. He ran, I think it was like 6 miles, and died because he was wearing a mask. I forgot why, but anyway, crazy.
Yeah.
You know, don't be crazy. Hey, you can learn a lot from a dummy. But yeah, that's the way I look at it. So the problem that we're having now, and you know, back, man, I think it was the middle of March, maybe the end of March, that we talked about some of the things that were going to happen because of all this. Obviously, we said the medical and then the financial, and then the emotional or the mental health issues. Wow, that's
it's happening.
It's happening. It sure is. And we're seeing it more and more. It's starting to unfold. And, you know, I see it from, again, this is a Christian worldview that we're looking through here as we talk. It's pastor talk. But really, I see the combination of what science has told us this is going to happen. You know, emotional, mental issues, all that's going to happen. We're also seeing it in prophecy being fulfilled. I believe it.
Right.
I believe it 100%. So,
So it's happening, and doesn't seem like it's going to end soon. It's not
Yeah.
going to go away at the click of a finger, or just because we don't want it here, therefore it doesn't exist. We have
No,
to
I
be
think we've
careful
got
with
to
that
learn
too.
we've got to learn to deal with it.
Right. Adapt.
Absolutely.
Define priorities, both in your personal life and spiritual life.
Right.
A lot of those things have to be defined.
Right.
If they weren't defined previously, of course.
If they weren't defined, they should be by now.
Right.
You should have already assessed your life and know what's important and what really isn't. And obviously, as has been said on here already, going out to eat is not near as important as it used to be.
Nope.
Because we realize it's dangerous or whatever, or it's more costly. You know. And I think just my experience, I think we've gone out to eat maybe 3 times, you know, for like Father's Day. We went to Chewy's and picked up an order to go and took it home and ate here. I think the food prices at restaurants is going up. I can't put my finger on it, but I think it's gone up by at least 10 or 15%.
I wouldn't doubt it. They've got to make up for their loss.
They do.
Cheesecake Factory's out. There's a list of places that are just not going to come back.
Right. That's right. Yeah, and I think dealing with this is really our next challenge. Okay, and I think that everybody listening to this program right now should really pay attention. Learning to deal with the future, if it's as crazy as it is now, you need to adapt. You need to get ready and just be prepared to deal with it. Don't let your mind lead you into thinking, you know, 2 months from now. It might be 2 months from now, but I don't think so. And you need to prepare your mind and your home and everything else for the long haul. A year from now, what if 1 or 2 months? You're going to be disappointed. Not only disappointed, but you're going to be unprepared, and you're probably going to have some issues that, you know, you're going to take out on other people. It's just not a healthy way to live. Look long haul, look down the road a year, and just expect it to happen.
Yeah, I agree. This could we didn't expect the riots. We didn't expect the issues that we're facing right now with racism and just the chaos that's happening in the world. So we didn't expect that a month ago. What else could we expect now? Should we expect everything to just go back to complete normal, or what is normal? You know, so I like what you're saying. We need to think pretty far in advance and really prepare for what could be the worst in some ways.
Yeah, I do believe. And you also need to, thinking about that, let me throw this out there. Not only should you be prepared long term, physically, whatever else, you know, a Mo prepper kind of guy, but you also need to be ready to deal with other people that have not prepared for that future that is weird, crazy, whatever.
Right. Because people under pressure, why don't we talk about just people under pressure for a moment? What are some signs in your mind of people under pressure? Obviously, we're seeing it play out. Can we kind of just list some things that maybe include that person under pressure, what that life looks like?
Well, yeah, we can. I'll tell you what, and depending on your life stage and what your life was before COVID compared to now,
Your dependence, right?
yeah. There's a lot of different ways to express your emotions, but it all depends on where you're at and what you expect, and that's really our problem, dealing with our expectations that have not been met. I expect, my food, my car, my job. I expect to date. I mean, imagine, guys, I'm telling you, imagine an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old that is, hey, I'd like to date somebody. And can you imagine living like that right now? I mean, I'm obviously I'm not looking to date anybody. And
Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, really, they've got to deal with this
cyber dating, basically.
Yeah. So, but I think when we're dealing, let me think. I think when we're dealing with other people that have obviously not prepared mentally to deal with, and I'm not talking about spiritually or physically or anything like that, but mentally, they're going to find avenues of expression, whether that be, frustration, anger. Some of them I've known some, I've heard some. You know what? I'm going to stay in my house and just isolate myself from everybody and everything. You're just going to cause yourself more problems. Because that is really, really not the way you need to respond. But I'm getting a little distracted, but dealing with other people that are under pressure, how we deal with them. First of all, knowing they're under pressure is very important. Then knowing or watching for signs that they're not dealing with that well is another one. And then the third one is, how do we deal with that? So I think those three levels, realizing, first of all, that everybody, me and you and everybody around us, we're all in the same boat. And
right.
So but how we deal with that varies broadly based on even your birth order, how you was raised. Everything.
And I would say even in this cyber environment, to where especially young people, millennials and beneath, Generation Z and all them, they're getting their information off the internet. Everything's off the internet. They used to be able to bounce ideas off of friends who are right there with them. Right. Freedom of speech is probably the best way to filter good ideas. But whenever it only comes through the means of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all these things that are censored now, to where you can only think this way, all these issues are created where it hot button topics and all those kind of things can be manipulated very easily. And so I like what Chris said here. He said depression, looking for outlets to relieve anxiety, suicide, divorce, alcohol, and drugs are at all-time high. Mental health is paramount. Some people can't handle extreme isolation. And we've seen this happen. And summer is known to be a pretty violent time because the kids are not in school. They're not doing what they need to be doing. So, but it's worse than it has ever been. I'd like to see some charts of that, of course. That's just what we're seeing now. But what do you think?
I agree. I think people are frustrated. People are, but again, that's a known. We're going to have that happen.
Right.
We're going to have people get angrier, easier. I mean, I said that in the right order. They're going to be angrier, easier. They're going to be triggered by the least little thing, but it's like a volcano that the pressure's been building, and then one little thing and it blow. And so knowing that that's going to happen, what we have to do, and I'm talking about in general public, what we have to do is know, number one, again, I'm going back to it, know it's going to happen. Number two, how we deal with it.
Right.
And I really think that the most important thing that we have to do is be the number one, the most mentally mature in the room, where we realize that this is going to happen and learn to, deal with people in a way that brings calm, brings peace, brings hope. Just reminding. I mean, as a pastor, I just want to remind people it's not going to last forever. It's
Right.
not eternal. It's just a situation that we've got to get through. We talk about. Let me think. The Spanish flu. We talk about World War I, World War II. We can talk about that, and we can say World War I, World War II, and in our mind, just a little brief few images come to our mind, and they come and they're gone. But that was World War I. Multiple years of sacrifice. World War II, multiple years of sacrifice. Coupons to go buy gas, coupons to buy food, coupons to. You couldn't. They couldn't print books. A lot of things were affected. So we've just got to realize it's just. Even though I believe it's prophetic, I see that. I don't know that it's the end of time, and we're just a few days away from God coming back. It could be, but if it's not,
This could be our time, just as every other generation has faced their issues.
Right. And I've got to deal with that, and I've got to be okay with dealing with that, and I've got to be okay with dealing with people that aren't okay with it.
Right. And you've got to be pretty aware. Situational awareness is something you learn in the military, that you've got to understand the situation you're in. You can't deny reality, and you've got to see, even if it's stuff that's just online, you've got to just be aware of it. There's certain issues that are issues right now, whatever it may be. You've got to be aware and treat people that way, and don't act as if it's not a reality. So be aware, be careful what you say, what you do, even where you go.
That's
all
right.
These issues. So.
Well, one of the things that I've told my wife multiple times, and Steve Emmert's on here, he could probably tell us even more. But ladies that go shopping, they know the criminal element in our world knows that 9 out of 10, maybe even higher, of the ladies that get out of their car to go to the grocery store, go to the mall, are not thinking about what's going on around them.
Right.
It's dangerous.
Oh yeah.
And
and right now our leaders are all trying to think of a global situational awareness, because things are escalating right now. If you haven't noticed, we can be so myopic and think that it's just right here in our community, or only Texas where we're hitting a surge, and only focus on the surge in Texas. But there's so much going on around the world right now. It's 2020 has just been a crazy year, and it's just getting better and better.
Yeah. And now, and I'm going to bring this up, but just because it's real to us now, all of the people trying to tear down every statue, every landmark, burning churches. It's like the world's going mad, but we know, and again, I'm going back to scripture. We know that these things are going to happen, and just get used to it. Because I'm not saying get so used to it that you're content to sit back and do nothing, but it should spur some things in your mind. I've got to do some things. I've got to, prepare my life, prepare my soul. I've got to protect my family. I've got to be more aware of things, like you said. But this is our world. This is our generation. This is where we live.
Such a
not going to change.
This. Right.
That's right.
You were born for this, not 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Every one of us. And in fact, I don't think, I'm not going, it's too much of a discussion, but I don't think there's nobody that just, you pick somebody up from another generation and set them down in our world. They just couldn't do it. But we have been that frog in the skillet. We've been slowly getting to this place to where, constant information, bombardment of information on our minds. It's dumbed us down in some ways, but in other ways, it's really made us more aware of what's really going on in the world. And it's given us liberties and freedoms that we never considered. With everything we put out, like what we're doing here today, it has influence. And it might be minor, might be great, but we have to be careful of that influence. And because we're changing, I want to be a good influence on those around me. We're changing their mind by how we talk.
Right. and how you respond.
Right.
Response is a very good indicator of who you are.
That's right.
We can always go back in time and tell people what we would have done or could have done, but especially young people, they're looking at the response of an older generation. They want to see how do you respond to different issues, and that's just part of it.
Well, it's like the phrase that and I didn't invent it. Problems don't create people. Problems expose people.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Money, same thing. Exposes the heart.
Right.
It was there before.
Yeah. You give people. Let me think how the phrase. It's power. I'm trying to remember what it is. Power, money, and problems, and you'll find out who they really are. I think that's the three things, if I remember correctly.
Makes sense.
Yep. You'll expose who they really are. So anyway, I think that we have to be very careful to be. I use the word resilient a lot, probably more than people want to hear, but I really think we have to be resilient. We have to endure this. We have to get through it. Let me give you. Hey, you know what? Just dawned on me. Just come to my mind. I'll tell you a story. And I actually wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. This is back months and months back, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. Actually, years probably. I read a book, and I don't remember what the name of it is or anything. It was years ago, but it was a history book about World War II, I think it was. And these men were in the middle of a battle, and the tanks were shooting, and the cannons were shooting, and they're in the middle. And this land around them, they're in trenches. It might have been in World War I during trench warfare. They were in trenches, and the land around them was just being pulverized. And one of the younger men stood up in the middle of this battle and was just aghast at what was going on. He couldn't believe what was going on. And one of the older men that was with him, tried to get his attention. Get down, you're going to get killed. Get down, you're going to get killed. Finally, he tackled him and took him down. And he said, the young guy was like this. He evidently he grew up on a farm, and he said, this land will never be good for anything. It's ruined. They have ruined this land. It cannot be. You'll never farm this land again. And the older guy said, if we survive this, we will, but we've got to survive it. And that's really what we're at now. The future might look different because it probably will be different. But we've got to survive this to be able to influence the future.
Right. I agree. Good points. I know you have a couple other topics of discussion, but I want to open it up to anybody in the comment section to let us know, is there anything that recently you've kind of been enlightened to or been thinking about more often, questioning in your mind certain things? Because I know as time goes on, we've had an earthquake in Mexico today.
7.4.
7.4. That's not small. So all these things are impacting people all over the world. And what is it that maybe is on your heart right now? Something that maybe you need to think through it. And Pastor, while they do that, you're welcome to go ahead and discuss some more. I just want them to go ahead and put a little bit in the comment section so we have something to talk about at the end.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I want to hear what they're thinking about anyway, because that's really, I think as a pastor, I can stay spiritually focused and preach on spiritual things and never really get into where the rubber meets the road, the problems people are dealing with, if I don't hear from people, if I don't communicate with people. And so one of the things that I have to do as a pastor, and this is not a topic, it's just a thought. As a pastor, I need to hear what people are going through. And I'm not saying, I need to hear everything everybody's going through, but I need to know, what is life like for everybody in this church? What is life like for people around me? What are they dealing with? There's things that I used to work in the construction industry for years, of course, and there's things about the construction industry that is peculiar. Maybe it's a dynamic that is strictly in that. You would think it was strictly in that construction field, and that was always, I'm coming top of mind stuff, dirty jokes, lots of cussing, rough, tough, that kind of thing. Well, that's not the truth. If you're only in that industry, that's the only industry you see, and that's the only thing you think of. But it's really, that can be in multiple industries. And the same thing as I pastor, there's perspectives that I have of what people are going through, but I could be wrong. So I love to hear what people are concerned with. I think it's important that we hear what others are concerned with, and it's not just about us. But anyway.
Yeah,
as Christians, I think it's a necessity that we feel the pulse of the world and understand what it is they're hurting, because that's how disciples are made. That's how people are brought closer to God. And as a pastor, you would just be another preacher if you didn't understand what the world was going through. We don't need someone who's just going to preach, but not build a bridge to what reality is. And so that's what you're doing as a pastor. And I'll say I appreciate that. And every message you preach, if somebody's watching this now, you can go on our YouTube channel and go back and you see what's going on. They're purposeful messages that change lives. So I think that's very much necessary.
Yeah, I think the ultimate a part of a definition of love is to hear and to feel with compassion what other people are going through. And I think if you really love somebody, you gotta heal that, you gotta feel that and hear it. And then you've got to, of course, me as a minister, I think we're all ministers, by the way. I mean, it's not just, oh, I'm a pastor, so therefore I'm a minister. Everybody needs to be a minister in their own way. In fact, everybody is a minister in their own way. They're all leaders in their own way. Everybody is leading somebody. Everybody can minister to somebody. To some, it might be with a microphone like me. Others, it might just be one-on-one. Hey, let's sit down over coffee. I want to help, But compassion, and it entails, I might have phrased that wrong, but compassion entails hearing, understanding what other people are going through.
Right. Yeah. And I like what Randy, oh, by the way, I think I fixed the echo. My iPad glitched on us a little while ago, and it does that. So anyways, Randy said, I am a rather positive person, but since the unrest building in me from all the problems going on, it is causing me to sound gruff, which is not nor for me. So and that can happen. This is a time where it's one thing after another hitting our homes, hitting our life, and if we read the news long enough, you can get pretty calloused to the world, and you can even get unsensitive, and you can even get to where you want to just leave everything and go build a cabin in the woods and never see the world again. People are doing that right now. People are moving out of cities. They're getting away, and they're looking for peace. I wonder where they're going to get it. So that's where I read
a blurb, I think is the right term, that the South, the revival of the southern suburb, because people are leaving the North, and part of it is to do with COVID because of the congestion, and they're going to little towns outside of big towns, trying to stay close enough to make money, but far enough away that they can have some peace or whatever.
Well, and with the internet getting better and better as time goes on, it's possible for people to work online. But as we talked about before, you do have to have people that are working on assembly lines. You have to have people that are working in factories. These things must be done. Not all work can be done online, but people that can, it's pretty obvious that they're moving. Somewhere somebody has got to be turning a screw. They're saying a record number is shot from New York moving to Florida. Florida reported change of addresses of I can't remember how many thousands, but it was within a month. It was just spiked up. People were just moving to Florida, getting out of New York.
The pressure is real, and like Randy Wade said, this is a kind of this. It's kind of a pressure cooker type situation, and what we've got to do is know our tolerances and manage those tolerances to where we minister to ourselves as well as ministering to others. I have to, personally, I take a break every once in a while. I have to, because if I don't, that overwhelming pressure, I will blow up, and it's not going to be pretty. So we
Right.
have to find those ways to manage that time that we can get away, that Saturday or that Sunday evening or whatever it may be, that we can get away, go fishing, sit down with friends, do something that's relaxing. I know by previous study that experience with friends and family is more, what's the right word? It's better for you as a person
Right.
than anything else. Experiences with friends and family. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Just got to play games. We sit around here the other day and played, what was that? Not chicken
Train.
foot.
Yeah.
Mexican train. Man, that was a
Dominoes.
blast.
Right.
Yeah,
Stephanie
that was a blast.
Comster brought up a great point. Everyone seems to be, I wouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people seem to negate or overlook what children are experiencing during this time.
Right.
So
Right.
that's something, especially this is their formative years. This is where they're supposed to be experiencing new things, learning about other people's personalities,
Yeah.
and they're developing their own. And so I'm curious to see how that's changing through all of this. And so if you have any ideas, any stats, any websites that you'd refer us to, Stephanie, I'd love to see that in the comments section. But I agree. I think now more than ever, parents need to take advantage of what opportunities they do have to connect socially or get creative in any way that they can. And that's one thing I love about our Spark Children's Ministry at the
Oh,
church
man.
is
Yeah.
they're created the Spark Summer Challenge. And this is something that the kids are active. They're watching a video, then they have some activity with their parents because sadly we're not able to group them all together and socially keep them tight
Right.
like we are used to. So we're having to get creative. So if you have ideas, I want to see that in the comments section. What are some good ideas that you're doing in your home that maybe helps your kids? So that maybe other parents on here can say, you know what, maybe that's a great idea. I can implement that in our life or in our family and help them during this time because sadly, many of them are not getting what they need during this socially distant period.
And I would also suggest that you take advantage of the many conveniences that we have nowadays. Facebook Live, or not Facebook. Well, this is Facebook Live. FaceTime.
FaceTime, right.
FaceTime, Zoom. Man, those I know it's got to be hard on our children. In fact, I have grandchildren, and my oldest grandchild will call my wife. Very seldom calls me, but anyway, she's beautiful. I'm just being funny, but she'll call my wife, and they'll talk, and she'll just talk on FaceTime. And man, it's such an awesome thing. So take advantage of those things. Take advantage of the church. But I have to be very careful as a pastor. I want our children to connect, and I want it to be that place to where all of our kids remember and know and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But as a parent, you have to be careful that they don't bring something home with them that you didn't want in your home. And I'm talking about COVID.
Yeah, and a couple comments here. Buddy Saxon, he said, this ain't the Texas I was expecting. We move here, then all of a sudden COVID-19 hits.
Yeah.
Welcome to Texas. Welcome to the world, I guess.
Yeah, California's not any better, by the way. It's probably worse.
Yeah, Susan Logsden said child abuse numbers have risen as well due to stress within families. I agree, and not necessarily. And I would think it's also because of the time they're spending with family, away from school, where that 8 hours, whatever time it is, they were in a pretty safe place relatively. But it's sad.
Yes.
This is stuff that's happening. This is our world. This is the reality that child abuse numbers are rising. And
Sexual abuse,
right?
Elder abuse, all abuse across the board is rising.
Yes. So
it's not good.
These are all the backlash, the problem behind the problem. That many times we can say COVID-19 is the problem. Well, there's problems that accompany that, and we're seeing them play out.
That's right. It's a ripple effect, and it's going to continue to ripple. I'll say this. I've thought about this just a little bit, probably not enough to even make very many comments. But if we don't educate our children now, what's going to happen 5 years from now? If they miss a grade, everything's delayed, and it's a ripple effect all the way through life. and it hurts them. It hurts not only them but our entire world. We have to, in the same manner that we have to pay attention to their education, academic education, we have to pay attention to their spiritual education. Everybody's spiritual education, everybody's spiritual walk with God, their relationship with God. If you don't have a good relationship with God today, it's going to affect you tomorrow. If you don't have a good education today, it's going to affect you tomorrow. And it's going to ripple. A person that doesn't have a good education, they have less options. They have less opportunity. Unfortunately, they're in a place to where they get taken advantage of. So we've got to take care of these issues to the best of our ability now and be resilient. And that kind of takes me back, and I don't know if it's okay to talk about this now, but because we're kind of running out of time, I think. But guys, hear me. You better learn to be resilient. When things happen, you've got to be willing to accept it. I mean, I know there's certain things that will happen that you can't accept. But there's a lot of things that are going on in our world. What can you do about it? What can we do about it? And you're just going to have to be resilient and deal with things, adapt and overcome, as we've said multiple times. Just adapt and overcome. And
Right.
The church, our homes, our children, find ways to adapt and overcome.
Right. I'm going to throw something on the screen real quick. Let's see here. Here we go. This is a website sent to us by Heather Strawn. Thank you, Heather. And she's posted a couple of things in the comments section for you guys to refer to in the future. But the title is How Stress Affects Children and How to Manage It. This is by PsychCentral.com. And a couple of things they say to do is talk with your kids. This is a great thing. So often in our world prior to COVID-19, it's so easy to get home at 6 o'clock in the evening and put your kids down around 8 o'clock, 8:30. You only have 2 hours, 2.5 hours with your kids every evening. So this may be a great thing for us, but we've got to be intentional, because the issue is if we're not talking to them properly and we're only telling them the negative things and only telling them about our financial issues, we're seeing 30% of kids worry about family financial difficulties. Only 18% of parents believe it's a source of their child's stress. Well, children are stressed out just like parents. Another thing, playing with your kids, getting them outside. This thing talks about how recess time has been diminished and things like that over time. And so getting outside. I know Chris on here had said that they took time to the beach. They went outside a lot. He's taking his kids out and making that part of their homeschooling curriculum in some ways.
Garden.
Right.
Plant a little garden. Plant a few things,
Right. Do these things or making memories, experiences. Man, I think this is a great opportunity to show these kids in real life, or in real time, how things grow, how they develop, and how we can do what we can do to be good stewards over these things. So enroll your kids in music lessons.
I love
it
that.
Talks about resiliency, basically, a recovery from stress. Playing and creating music acts as a kind of medicine that can help reduce blood pressure. These are all things that are really good for children if they're not challenged. Hey, music lessons can be a challenge. They can be a challenge.
Oh,
But
yes.
If they're not challenged, they're not going to be resilient. They're not going to be able to recover from things. And so I remember going to lessons as a kid. My sisters going to lessons. Some of them were traumatic. It's tough, but it was good for us. Encourage sleep. We can't have the kids stay up half the night playing video games and watching TV. So there's certain things that should be a no-duh kind of thing. But, hey, we've got to be intentional about this. We can't just go off and work our jobs and say we did this and we only parented for 2 hours a day. Times are changing. So I'm going to pull that off the screen and go back to our program.
Let me throw this in there for just a general overview. God created everything in a system. Sun, moon, everything. And we live in a system. And when you don't have your children in a system of growth and development and learning, I'm not going to say you're abusing your children, but you're not allowing your children to develop in the best way. And I mean, there are key moments in their life that they can pick up an instrument or they can pick up another language that is just critical for the development of their entire life. And literally you can find, and I don't have it and I'm not on the computer to do it, but there are resources out there that will show you key moments in children's lives. This is what they need to be learning. And I'm not talking about academic things. I'm talking about, motor skills, talents, abilities, like I said, music. Those things are important. I really think that while COVID is, it's horrible, man, use it for the benefit of your family.
Yes.
Take advantage of it.
I agree completely. So we are down to about 3 minutes left until 9 o'clock. So we're coming down on time. Pastor, is there anything you'd like to conclude with? Some thoughts that maybe you want to leave us with and get us going for next Tuesday at 8 o'clock when we come back?
Well, first of all, if you use the Ninja, don't fill it up too fast, too full because it exploded. Huh? It exploded in my kitchen today. Man, I got tomato sauce everywhere. But no, I think, being serious, I think over the next few days, we're going to see a lot of drastic changes, a lot of things implemented, no matter really where you live, but especially in this Texas area. We're going to probably see mandatory mask, right now they have, and I think it's Harris County, you cannot enter into a business unless you're wearing a mask.
Right.
We're going to see that. Be okay with it. I know the rebel inside of us wants to rise up, but be okay with it. We're not talking about something that doesn't matter. You wouldn't go to, I'm going to use this example. You wouldn't go to town without your pants on. Don't go to town without your mask. It's not complicated. Just do it. Get through this time period. You'll survive. And when you survive it, then you can do other things.
All right. That's you heard him straight from the horse's mouth. So.
Horse.
No. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. And thank you, Stephanie Coppinger, Heather Strawn, a few of y'all that has been able to leave us a little bit of links to go check them out, some resources for us. And this has been a good conversation. So next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, we want to talk to you again. And if you had something that just sparked your mind, something come up, you want to hear us talk about it or maybe have a conversation about it, why don't you send it to us? Facebook Messenger is a great thing through Victory Church. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And do that and tell your friends about it. Share it on Facebook. And we want to see you again next week, 8 o'clock. Have a great night, and God bless you.